Welcome to the next of my top 10 Shadowlands videos. Today we'll be talking about Maldraxxus. Maldraxxus is the home of the Necrolord's Covenant, and is the area of the Shadowlands the Scourge drew upon for their minions and support. Souls who are drawn here are militaristic, strong in body and will, stubborn, ambitious, vengeful, and refuse to yield. Again, some of my choices may divide viewers, but remember, I will try to explain my decisions as they're only opinions. We will definitely see some trends with races and classes drawn here, as certain factors the Arbiter will look at are personality based. We won't be talking about Draka, as we already know that she'll be found within Maldraxxus. So getting straight to it, number 10, DAELIN Proudmoore. The Lord Admiral and ruler of Kulturas, he became Grand Admiral of the Alliance during the Second War. He refused to believe that the Orcs were capable of being anything other than the bloodthirsty monsters he'd fought, ignorant of the fell blood component to their violence. After the death of his son Derek, when the Third Fleet was sunk by Dragonmoor Orcs riding their captive Red Drakes, he became consumed by vengeance. After the Scourge invasion of Lordaeron, he took his fleet to Kalimdor in search of his daughter Jaina. When he discovered the presence of Orcs on Kalimdor, he began to attack their settlements unprovoked, despite Jaina's pleas that they were different now. Eventually, Jaina sided with the Horde on a moral standpoint, and did nothing to prevent his death by Rexxar during the siege of Theramore. Years later, even his wife Catherine admitted that he'd become consumed by vengeance and hatred. Number 9, Warlord ZAELA. The leader of the Dragonmoor clan since its reintroduction to the Horde, a staunch friend and follower of the current war chief GARROSH HELLSCREAM. She supported his actions with her clan's survival and health in mind. She escapes the siege of Orgrimmar and is later killed in Upper Blackrock Spire during Warlords of Draenor. She was not afraid to stand for what she believed in and fight against tyranny, having orchestrated the demise of Overlord Morgor, prior chief of the Dragonmoor, who was a tyrant. Once her loyalty was given, she would not turn back. Number 8, Chief UKORZ SANDSCALP. Chief of the Sand Fury tribe based in Zul'JIN in Tanaret. His people's land, established long before the Sundering, when the Trolls battled the creations of the Old God and settled to monitor the prisons. In the Sand Fury tribe's case, it was guarding against Yakia and Cthulhu. Separated from the Guribashi Empire by the Sundering, their land has been encroached upon by ogres, gnomes and goblins. UKORZ wants to reinstate his tribe's land and influence, and refuses to be pushed back any further. His response is violent, which results in his death when adventurers arrive in Zul'JIN to stop his raiding. Number 7, Emperor DAGRAN THAURISSAN. Emperor of the Dark Iron Dwarves living in servitude to the Firelord Ragnaros under Blackrock Mountain. He enjoyed the powers given to him by Ragnaros, but objected to the service it entailed. He was ordered to raise an army and conquer Ironforge, and he happily obeyed this time, full of desire to conquer and rule the other dwarven clans. As insurance to protect Shadowforge from retaliation, he kidnapped the daughter of King Magni Bronzebeard, Moira, yet ended up falling in love with her and they married. He was confronted by a team of adventurers sent by Magni to rescue Moira. Deep within Shadowforge he fell, despite wielding the legendary hammer Ironfoe. Yet Moira refused to leave and ruled the Iron Dwarves in his place, until the son she was pregnant with was old enough to claim his throne. Number 6, BLACKHAND. Chieftain of the Blackrock Orcs and first war chief of the Horde, a brilliant strategist and warrior, he ruled with rigorous order. He had no time for weakness, and at first did not believe the Draenei posed a threat, until all the shamans gave the same message. He listened to his spiritual advice and began raids on Draenei hunters, believing the future and survival of his race was at risk. His lust for power and ego made it easy for Gul'dan to manipulate him, and had him elected as war chief, and he allowed the shamans to embrace the warlock training, and enlisted the ogres. After drinking the fell blood of the Pit Lord Manoroth and destroying Shattrath City, He led the horde through the dark portal to Azeroth. He orchestrated the entire war against Stormwind, and when Gul'dan fell into a coma, it left Blackhand exposed until he was challenged by his second-in-command, Orgrim Doomhammer, to mock Garrosh and had his skull crushed. The majority of his actions were under the influence of fell magic, unlike his alternative version, and his desire and battle supremacy puts him in Maldraxxus. Number 5. ZUL'JIN. Warlord of the Amani Empire, he was frustrated with the ongoing feud with the High Elves of Fel'dorei, who since their arrival 7,000 years ago had effectively invaded the Trolls' lands. When he was captured by humans and held in Durnhold Keep, he was freed by Orgrim Doomhammer and accepted his offer to join the Horde. He would aid them, and the Orcs would help him retake his ancestral lands. The agreement would not last, though. They attacked the Elves together, with the Dragonmaw clan attacking with their captured red dragons. But eventually the Orcs left to concentrate on their conquest of Lordaeron, and ZUL'JIN was captured by Holderon Brightwing and the Farstriders, who tortured him and gouged out his eye. Chained to a pillar, he was tortured and cut off his own arm to free himself. He became even more of a legend to his people, denounced the Horde and seized his opportunity to punish the Elves after the Scourge invasion, raiding their remaining settlements until adventurers stormed ZUL'JIN and killed him. The whole time his aim was to ensure his people's future and claim his vengeance. Number 4. AEGWYNN. The former Guardian who served for 1,000 years, trained by the previous Guardian Skarbel. Her drive and ambition and skill led to her selection as the first female Guardian. She was distrustful of the Kirin Tor mages of Dalaran, feeling that they interfered with the politics in the human kingdoms and were abusing their power. She refused to give up her Guardian powers at the end of her tenure, and used her powers to extend her life. She travelled to Northrend to defend the Dragonflights from an attack by demons. When she banished the final demon, the avatar of Sargeras arrived. After a lengthy battle, she succeeded in defeating him, only to be possessed by the spirit of the Titan. She evaded the Council of Tirisfal for centuries, until she met Neela Saran, who she used to father a child that she could pass her powers on to, and therefore have a direct hand in naming her own successor. But unbeknownst to her, she also passed on the spirit of Sargeras to her son Medivh. She left him in the care of his father, and left her home of Karazhan. When she learned of Medivh's part in the Orc invasion, she confronted him, leading her son to drain her remaining magic. Left only with her anti-aging power, she barely escaped death, and built a home near Ratchet in self-imposed exile. When Medivh died, she saved up her magic to raise him from death as the Prophet. She was found by Jaina Proudmoore and served as a chamberlain and advisor, helped reveal the true identity of Logosh as King VARIAN WRYNN. She died giving her final power and life into saving her grandson Medan in his battle against Cho'Gall. Even without the spirit of Sargeras influencing her, her drive, ambition and stubbornness puts her in Maldraxxus. Number 3. GROMMASH HELLSCREAM. Chieftain of the Warsong clan and legendary warrior and father of Garrosh. Disgusted by weakness, he turned his back on his injured mate Gulka when she called for death. Captured by the ogres, he survived weeks lashed to a tree, until he freed himself when the ogre warlord got too close. First to drink of the fell blood, he led his clan against the Draenei, and through the dark portal after the Second War to retrieve the skull of Gul'dan. When the portal was destroyed, his clan hid in the wilds of Lordaeron, and during this time realised the horror that the fell magic had caused to the Orcs, and fought through the withdrawal symptoms. When he was found by Thrall, he taught the young Orc what it meant to be an Orc, and the clan reunited with Orgrim Doomhammer and the Frostwolves. They set about releasing the Orcs from the internment camps, and suggested that they steal Alliance ships from South Shore and sail away. When the Warsong landed on Kalimdor, they were confronted by Alliance forces led by Jaina Proudmoore. Thrall tasked GROMMASH with collecting lumber for the new settlements, and he clashed with the Night Elves and Cenarius. They discovered a fountain of fell blood, left as a trap by Manoroth, and GROMMASH and his clan could not resist the addiction. Empowered again, the orcs killed Cenarius, and when Manoroth appeared, he revealed to the orcs that they were now under his control. GROMMASH was horrified but powerless to stop the war song as they were turned against Thrall and the remaining alliance. Thrall confronted him and took him to Jaina, who cleansed him. He hunted down Manoroth to Demon Fall Canyon in Ashenvale and killed the Pit Lord with the axe Gorehowl, releasing his people and dying considered redeemed in the Horde's eyes. Number 2. King VARIAN WRYNN, King of Stormwind and High King of the Alliance. As a child, he witnessed the assassination of his father, WRYNN, by the mind-controlled Garrona Half-Orcan, taken to capital city in Lordaeron by his mentor AEGWYNN Lothar. After the fall of Stormwind, he grew up with Prince Arthas Menethil until his lands were retaken during the Second War. Stormwind was rebuilt, and he married Tiffin Ilarion and had a son, Anduin. The Black Dragon Onyxia was posing as the Lady Katrana Prestor and persuaded the nobles not to pay the stonemasons for their work, which led to a riot in the city, and Queen Tiffin was killed. After the Third War, Onyxia had VARIAN abducted whilst he was travelling to Theramore. A magical ritual led to him being split into two people, one meek and easy to manipulate, who was returned to Stormwind for Katrana to use as a puppet. The second fled into the sea, full of rage and fire but no memory. He was found by Rhaegar Earthfury and conscripted into his gladiator arena. He earned the name Logosh due to his fighting with the strength and prowess of a wolf. With his fellow prisoners, Brawl Bearmantle and Valera Sanguinar, escaped and eventually arrived in Theramore, where Jaina Proudmoore and AEGWYNN realised his true identity. On return to Stormwind, the two VARIANs clash until Anduin was kidnapped by Onyxia and taken to her lair. They put aside their differences and confronted Onyxia with the elven swords Shalator and Elamain, and during the battle a spell put the two back together, along with the swords, now Charlemagne. For years he struggled to control his rage and temper, often scaring his own son, until a Worgen ritual helped him find his balance. During a peace conference at Theramore, an appearance of Garrona led VARIAN into a rage to denounce the Horde, believing that GARROSH had attempted to have him assassinated. When the Burning Legion arrived at the Broken Shore, lost intelligence from SI-7 led the armies of the Horde and Alliance being badly outnumbered. When Sylvanas Windrunner ordered a retreat, VARIAN felt betrayed. His actions allowed the survivors of the Alliance to escape. Wounded, he was brought before the alternative Gul'dan at the foot of the tomb of Sargeras and killed by fell magic, maintaining his allegiance to the Alliance. Many people would feel that VARIAN belongs in Bastion, but even with the Worgen ritual, he was always still too quick to temper and too quick to action. Before we get to our number 1, I have some honourable mentions. Kilrog Deadeye, the original. His clan hid when their land was invaded by the Arakoa and fell into ruin. Sacrificing an eye for a vision of the future, Kilrog killed his father who'd led them to ruin and took over as chieftain. He took his clan to better lands and brought them back to greatness. He joined the Horde and was one of the first to drink of the fell blood. Unwilling to throw away lives, he excelled at politics. He led his clan through the Dark Portal and fought the Alliance and the Gurubashi trolls in Stranglethorn Vale. Throughout the Second War, he evaded capture in Khazmodan until he returned to Draenor and became a bodyguard of Ner'zhul. Within the Shadow Labyrinth of Orchidun, he met his end in a duel with Danaf Trollbane. Othmar Garithos. The Grand Marshal found himself leader of the survivors of Lordaeron after the Third War. Xenophobic and very quick to temper, he believed his main objective should be the survival of the human race above all others. He reluctantly worked with the Blood Elves and Dwarves to retake Lordaeron from the remaining Scourge. When trying to retake the Plague Lands, he came across the Dreadlords, Deathrock and Balnazar, and for a time was under their mind control until rescued by Sylvanas and her Forsaken. Against his better judgment, he worked with her to take back the capital city, and together they defeated Balnazar. But when he ordered the Forsaken to leave, as the city was for the living, Sylvanas ordered her captive Nathrezim, Varamathras, to kill him and fed his corpse to the ghouls. Number 1. GARROSH HELLSCREAM. Son of GROMMASH HELLSCREAM and Gulka, he was infected by redpox and confined to the quarantine town of Garrodor in Nagrand. Unable to join his fellow orcs, he avoided the unnatural aging spells and fell blood corruption. When the Dark Portal opened again during the Burning Crusade, he was found by Thrall, who told him of his father's deed and his final redemption. He came to Azeroth and clashed often with Thrall, believing that the Alliance were animals, and was quick to temper and frustrated with Thrall's supposed inaction. He led the Horde offensive in Northrend against the Lich King. When Cataclysm occurred and Thrall stepped down as war chief, Garrosh was named as his successor. He was challenged to a mock Garrar by Cairn Bloodhoof, who believed that Garrosh was too warmongering. His axe Gorehowl was poisoned by Magatha Grimtoten, who wanted Cairn dead, and even though he outmatched Garrosh, Cairn died of a simple scratch. Furious upon discovering the poisoning, he refused to aid Magatha when she took Thunder Bluff but could not hold it. He launched a war against the Alliance, but denounced several actions taken by his subordinates. He vehemently objected to Sylvanas using her Valkyr to raise new undead, and killed Overlord Cromgar for killing the High Chieftain Cliffwalker's family and bombing a druid training tree in Stone Talon Mountain. He sieged Theramore and had a mana bomb dropped on it, killing everyone except Jaina. The Horde began to fracture. Orcs loyal to Garrosh against the Forsaken, Tauren and Trolls, whom Garrosh believed had no true place in his new Horde. He placed the Echo Isles under martial law and tried to have ZUL'JIN assassinated. He sought to conquer the newly discovered Pandaria and brought the war to their lands, igniting the dormant Shah, vestiges of the dead old god Y'Shaarj. When he found out about the Divine Bell, he bent his efforts into finding it, and when he did, he was confronted by AEGWYNN, who was severely injured when it was struck to infuse the power of the Shah into his champion Ishi. When the goblins discovered the heart of Y'Shaarj, he battled his way through the Shadow Pan to bathe it in their pools to revive it. He was confronted by the Shadow Pan leader Taran Zu, and in an epic showdown defeated him. He revived the heart and unleashed the Shah, marring the Veil of Eternal Blossoms. He took the heart to Orgrimmar, and Thrall with the Alliance stormed the city. Garrosh took the power of the heart and became an avatar of Y'Shaarj. Despite this, he was still defeated. He was placed on trial for war crimes, but was rescued by Wrathion and a bronze dragon, Karasdormu, and taken to an alternative version of Draenor 35 years ago to raise an army to fight the coming Burning Legion invasion. Garrosh had other plans. He killed the dragon, approached his father and revealed the truth of the Fellblood, leading to Gul'dan's offer being rejected. Together, father and son created the Iron Horde to conquer Draenor and Azeroth. When Khadgar led forces to Draenor to stop him, he was challenged to Mok'Garrar by Thrall. He died when Thrall brought his shamanistic powers into the fight, screaming that Thrall failed him and the Horde, that he had the heart of a warrior. Now a lot of his actions were sketchy, almost bordering on evil, but it was always with the progression of the Orcish race in mind, and not necessarily his own power. He could have been the face of the Iron Horde, but chose to work in the background, and he freed his entire race from the coming Fellblood corruption. I feel he wasn't truly evil, just very, very misguided.